Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, how are my snipers doing today? I hope you guys are doing fantastic. Listen, we can see Bitcoin at all-time highs. And look at it, it just pumped $400 in this last second. Literally, in this last second, it just pumped. I mean, look at this 1 minute candle. We jumped from $113,900 to, oh my God, practically $115,000. And look, man, we've been talking about how Bitcoin needs to make a choice. We also talked about in a private community how we believe this shift was in ever since we were kind of above this primary zone, right? We can see over here, boom, bang, and bang, right? Once we're kind of above this, we were predicting that there's a high probability of us going up. And that's exactly what happened. We did not have any confirmation until yesterday, though, right? We've been talking about this channel, how we have been consistently creating lower highs, right? Boom, we have a high over here. We have a lower high over here. Boom, right? Consistently creating lower and lower highs. And then, ladies and gentlemen, what happens? What? We choose our direction, which we've been talking about. Now, to the people that don't know what they're talking about, right? I told you so. I told you so. I don't care if that sounds ignorant. I don't care if that sounds a little cocky, right? People just don't understand and people don't have patience. And it's why 95% of people lose in these markets is because they just don't understand, right? They just don't understand certain things, but yet they always feel like they need to say their opinion. Well, your opinion sucks and is wrong most of the time. And listen, to the 99% of you subscribers, I'm not talking about you guys. You guys are fantastic. But to the people that think they're them, you're not. You're really not. Stay humble and you will see how the markets start to work. Listen, right? Patience is key. Patience is a virtue. I know a lot of people are impatient. Oh my God, $116,000. This is all live. This is all almost $117,000 while recording. In the last couple of minutes, we have gone from practically $113,800 to $117,000. See, that's what I expected. Once we got the confirmation, there is no slowing down. I expect Bitcoin to be hitting 120 to 140 over the next week or two. This is the expansion, ladies and gentlemen. I know people are saying, no, summer's going to be slow. Summer's going to be this. Summer's going to be that. Listen, it doesn't matter about the history, right? It doesn't matter, right? It does not matter, right? For weeks, we have been talking about how we were in a channel, right? We were in a channel. And of course, we were looking for confirmation. Now we have the confirmation, right? We can see that we finally broke out. Some people expected this to be again 6 to 7 months long. We were like, highly unlikely. The context here was different, right? The context here was different. We were retesting off of these highs, right? This whole zigzag zone was to pretty much confirm this top as a bottom. That was ultimately the plan, right? So I didn't expect for us to really have a slow summer, right? But I still wasn't 100% sure that we weren't going to have a slow summer. I just thought it's very highly unlikely because I was like, I really doubt we're going to really just consolidate again for 7 months after an expansion that just happened not too long ago, which was nice. Right? We went from 70K to eventually like 107,000, but we did have a sell-off period, right? And then now we can see we have been recovering very nicely. People have been calling the markets over for years now. I don't know what's wrong with people. For me, those people make me laugh. Thank you for, I see that on social media. I see that, people I talk to every single day, just everybody is always so pessimistic about the market. But like I said, not too many people have actual knowledge about it. In the private community, we talked about practically how once we kind of exploded out of the zone, right, we drew up perfectly what we thought was going to happen, right? Pretty much we were in a zone right over here, boom, right, boom, and we were just expecting, a little bit pullback and push up. And again, not too long ago, I drew up a chart where I kind of expected for price to do something very, very similar like this, and then kind of explode. And we can see we've gotten a great reaction, right? The market overall is going to be moving quick for the next, I would say upwards of 2 weeks, right? I do expect Bitcoin to go up another 5, 10, 15,000 over the next 2 weeks. Because, ladies and gentlemen, we were just consolidating, right? You can argue we've been consolidating since May, right? Since May, we've been consolidating. And actually, if you really want to count also this zone, right? If you want to count this zone, we've been ranging between, let's just say, 92K and 110K for months now. Yeah, there was an exception of when we went lower, but generally we've been going sideways and around this price range for a while. So I do expect heavy momentum to the upside. We can see when we go to something like crypto bubbles, right? Some coins are going nuclear. Now, I still expect, coins to kind of be going up at a good solid pace. Not altcoin season officially here, but that's okay. That's okay. We know Bitcoin still has some juice left in the tank. We know Bitcoin's journey is not done, but I do believe slowly we are coming to an end. I do believe once we kind of see this push to the upside, right? Boom, boom, maybe slow down a little bit and then see again another leg, slow down a little bit, and then one final pump. That is when I kind of expect for things to finally really shift in momentum. I do believe next time we get something similar, right? Something similar to this, boom, right? Something like this. I do believe instead of going up, this is going to be the cycle top, right? So kind of right now we're in a stage of we are expanding, right? Something similar to this. And I kind of expect this whole thing, but then eventually I kind of expect sideways movement, okay? Then most likely we will be going down, probably having one final pump, a second altcoin season, but instead of going higher up, I expect for us to actually cycle out, right? That is just what I expect overall, right? We knew we had a great 3-month candle. We really did, right? We really did. And since we are on the higher time frame, something that we could try to point out is that, ladies and gentlemen, look, we are looking to try to break out of this zone, okay? This area is very important because once we actually break through this, believe it or not, ladies and gentlemen, we are practically free, okay? We are practically free, right? Because this huge, massive resistance, if we do flip it, can become a support and we could continue the upside very aggressively. So we will be monitoring things. We will be monitoring things as we did just literally touch it, which is why we just saw an instant reaction, right? It's why we saw an instant reaction. But ultimately, that is it. We will look at two things for a second, right? Ladies and gentlemen, we can see Bitcoin dominance at 65% more or less, 64.89. And we can see, right? Even though we have been losing momentum, there is still no confirmation on the higher time frame that we are dropping, right? And until we don't start dropping, altcoins are not going to see those ultimate pumps you want to witness, right? That 50% a day, 30% a day consistently, 100% a day, right? That, 1,000% in a week, right? You're not going to see that until this starts dropping. And until some of you guys get that, you are going to be frustrated. And those that do understand that, you should feel some peace in your heart because, ladies and gentlemen, that is just how it works. When you have the knowledge and you have the understanding, then you know how things work, right? Last thing we are going to look at is this others chart, right? This could potentially be the start of the reversal. We have been talking about how we expected for this chart to come back down into this zone mainly here. Now, did we go as low as we expected, around 6.50%, 6.70? No, but that's okay because that's not the main thing we're looking for, is getting the percentage right. We're just looking for certain confirmations. As of right now, things look good. We have a big support zone over here. Boom, right? We also have this double top. And of course, we broke structure. Why? Because we had this double top over here. We had this lower high, but then we can see we have this big leg, right? Once we start closing above 7.20%, this very well could be slowly the start of altcoins seeing some type of life. Of course, I want to see how the weekly ends and closes because, ladies and gentlemen, right, ultimately at the end of the day, it could be a fake out. But as of right now, even on the weekly, we do have a low, right? We have a low and then we have a higher low. And yeah, that is sign. Those are the signs that, altcoin season is slowly trying to come around the corner, right? Even if we go up 0.5%, 1%, that doesn't necessarily mean, altcoins are going to fly, like I said, the way you guys want them to. I ultimately do believe we are in the final stages. I do believe we are, in the accumulation area for altcoins, where altcoins are slowly going to start gradually going up over the next few short weeks, few short months, and then they're going to prepare for a launch off for those 4 to 6 to 8 weeks. But yeah, that is it, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you guys did enjoy. I'll talk to you guys next time. Goodbye.